Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Catalina Perez. I am the Fashion and Global Brand Management Executive, and I work with marketing and recruitment here at ICMS. It is my absolute pleasure to be here today introducing Nicole Venter, our new program manager for both the Bachelor of Marketing and the Bachelor of Business in Fashion and Global Brand Management.
Hey, Kat.
How are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's a bit strange, but looking forward to talking some fashion today.
Well, that's amazing. I'd just like to start off by telling us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, a little bit about your interests.
Yeah, look, you can probably tell by the surname I was chatting about this morning. I'm originally from South Africa, but I think that would be an influence. My background is retail consulting. So I've worked in retail consulting for about 20 years. Worked across most major retailers in Australia. I started off as an IBM grad and kind of realized that consulting was more my gig than IT. I sort of fell in love with the idea of doing something where you could watch consumers react really quickly. And it was very hands-on. So yeah, that's a bit about my background. Otherwise, I live on the northern beaches and, love to go for walks in the morning.
Okay, I really want to know, where did your interest in fashion and marketing come from?
Yeah, sure. When I was about 18, I think, like everyone, I developed a bit of an obsession for fashion. I remember for my 20th birthday, I got a shoe wardrobe. So that kind of paints the picture for you. So I've always had a bit of a thing for fashion and a bit of an obsession with style and interior design. It came to fruition, I think, in my grad role. As I said, I started at IBM. And I used to carry all the boxes in heels, and I was the only graduate that wore hot pink and red skirts like I'm doing today. You can't see. So I think from the onset, I realized I was a little bit different to my cohort and found myself into consumer experience. So, and before that, always been a bit of a charmer and the one that liked to do all the big assignments at school. So I think marketing was in my blood from an early age.
That's so good. So good. I really want to know, who did you look up to?
Well, it's a tough one. I think honestly, my dad, I would say. He was a bit of a rebel. He worked overseas. He grew his hair long. And he's a mentor to quite a lot of women in industry. So I was lucky enough that he has guided me through my career, which I feel very privileged on.
That's amazing. Well, you just mentioned that he was a mentor. So do you think that having a mentor is actually important?
I do. And I think you need to connect with people that you feel you have a bit of a chemistry with, and identify people early that you want their career. I was from very early on, about 22, 23, I found people that I wanted their career, and I'd take them to lunch, take them to coffee, try and understand what extra skills I needed. Because this kind of stuff, it's a people-based business. There's a lot of soft skills that you'll only get from experience. So I think having a mentor, especially as a woman in business, I think is particularly important because there are other challenges that they can help you guide through as well.
You're 100% correct. Now that you've mentioned fashion and business, what drives you?
Drives me. I'm a pretty driven person, Kat. I think the team here are learning that quite quickly. I love to do things that are different and creative. And when I find people like you, and we've got an amazing team here that are also driven, that's what inspires me. People with energy really inspire me. And I love people that come to the table with a crazy idea. I say to all my lecturers, come with the crazy ideas and we can always go backwards from there, but you can't push something ordinary. So energetic people like yourself.
Well, that's great to hear. We talked about the positive stuff. Now tell me about the not so good things. During your career, have you ever had any setbacks?
Yes. And do you know what stoicism is?
Yes.
Yes. I've had to really take on stoicism quite often. So this mindset that anything that's a challenge is just fuel for personal growth, really. I think especially early on in your career, when you're not confident and you're not quite sure what you're doing. I've had some managers that have launched themselves over tables, shouting about a brief. I've had clients on the other side of the phone that, willing to pull $100,000 accounts. And that's a lot to take on when you're early in your career. But again, like I said, if you find people to mentor you, or a good manager, or you make a good friend at work, you're able to put those things in perspective quite quickly. And I make sure I have a lot of extracurricular interests as well. So I always feel as if I'm doing something worthwhile. My whole life is not work, although I probably live for work, as you realize. It's probably a little bit too much of an addiction. But yeah, you are going to deal with difficult people. So you just have to see it as a personal growth opportunity and not something that's a personal attack.
Totally agree with you. I heard that you were part of the construction of the Bachelor of Business in Fashion and Global Brand Management. Is that true?
That is true. I came in, there was a lecturer that dropped out about 15 odd years ago from teaching a course. And I came in and I had a retail background, and we had just started going into that area. So it was a little bit of luck. I think a lot of career opportunities often are a little bit of luck. But I got to build the ultimate fashion degree as a result. And I got to work with guidance from Westfield and a few different consultants. And yeah, amazing opportunity to create a first of kind degree in New South Wales. So it was great.
I know. Tell me about it. I'm super passionate about this degree, and I personally love it. It holds a very special place in my heart. That's why I'd really like you to share. What do you think that is the best thing of this degree?
I think the best thing is that it is chock full of real life skills. And that's something I was very passionate about when building the degree and working with the different lecturers. Is there is so much content on what I needed in the first 5 to 10 years of my career. So everything, my students always get terrified and I tease them, but basic Excel skills, making sure that you know how to identify opportunities and size them, the importance of business cases, the different tools we use like WGSN. It's jam-packed of those kind of things. So you leave the degree and you've really got the first 2 years of what you'd learn on the job as part of your studies. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Well, I'm a witness of that. So I really want to know, why do you think that it's important to connect at a personal level with your students? Because I do know you and I have the pleasure of talking to you very often. And I know that you are not just an academic. You really care about people. So why do you think that personal connection with your students is important?
Yeah. Well, you've become familiar with my breakfast photo shots. I think everyone's on their own journey. And, I was dyslexic. Well, I'm still dyslexic and yet an academic. So go figure. But I think everyone's on their own personal journey, and I don't like to look at students and just see them as a student. I like to think about, what are they trying to get out of this experience? And I think understanding people's motivations is key to helping them be successful. So I like to get to know my students on a level. I like to give chocolates out in class when we can be in class again. bring out their competitive side as much as possible, and have fun. If you're friends with someone, you share yourself and you have more fun and you're more creative. And that's what you want in a team environment.
You're totally right. That reminds me that when I met you, I heard in a business, no, that was not it. In a room full of business professionals, I'm the most creative. And then in a room full of creatives, I'm the most practical. Who said that?
Yeah, that sounds like me. But it comes back to, I think, getting to know people on a personal level. We have lecturers here that are advertising lecturers, marketing lecturers, and they did a maths degree. And then I have other lecturers who teach IT and they did psychology. Everyone sort of goes on a different journeys, aren't from start to finish. They're all over the place. And it's true. I've always felt very creative, but also very business minded. And that's why I like the fashion retail space, because we're all business people and we're all gamblers at heart, but we're also very creative and we like to have fun.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. So after all this chat, what do you think that could be the best advice that you could give to your marketing and fashion students?
Yeah. When I try and mentor students, there's a couple of things. I think the first thing is be willing to work hard for what you want. Things that it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. If it's too easy, it's not worth it. Work hard, and then you'll see some amazing results and test your potential. And with that, be easy to work with. I see people get caught up in their own politics. And if you're easy to work with, if you're always willing to take a chance, if you're always willing to do the crazy ideas or to do, work hard on the last minute pitches, you'll just get so much more out of people and so much more out of yourself. So yeah, that's my top tip. Just be easy to work with and work hard when the opportunities are given to you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Well, I think we're running out of time, but I just got 2 more questions for you.
Of course.
So in an ideal world, if borders happen to open tomorrow, where would you go?
I think my first stop, I love cycling. So my first stop would be Melbourne, because the cycling there is really good, as exotic as that is. But outside of that, I would love to go Japan or South Korea, just because the level of retail innovation is amazing. And the level of tech is, that's where I get all my best case studies. That in Germany. Germany's great as well with their level of tech.
That sounds so good. Hopefully we can do that soon.
Yeah.
And my last question. I've heard that you're a board game champion. Is that true? And if so, what game can future students challenge you in when they're back in campus?
Yeah, I think you've realized I'm a little bit competitive.
Just a little tiny bit.
The best people are very competitive. Yeah, look, obsessed with board games, bit of a geek flag. Here's a big tip. I was the head of the Librarian Society in high school, so, wasn't always this cool. King Domino, if you haven't heard of it, it's amazing. Really cheap game. You can get it from anywhere. I'm not paid for the plug, but I think I play it on my mobile phone probably 5 to 6 times a day every time I have a coffee break.
Oh.
So and yet not a champion of it. So got to improve. But King Domino, come and bring yourselves a hot chocolate and we can play in my office when we're all back. Will do.
That sounds so good. Well, I wish I could say that, but all I do is Candy Crush. And I think that's not really considered a board game. So
it's a board game. All gaming. All gaming's good.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in this short session. It was a pleasure to have you, Nicole. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
I'm pretty sure that all the students would love to hear more from you in the future. So thank you guys for joining us today. And we'll be sharing with you some more Q&A. So just wait for that.
Thanks, Kat. It was a pleasure.